What's up, guys? I'm back into the movie review. Today I'm here to talk about one from Paramount, and it is Mother. So I really liked this movie. I loved it. I saw it at the theater, and I waited to do my review until I could see it again on Blu-ray, because it left the theaters in my town really quickly. The story here is that there's been a fire, and this woman is kind of slowly rebuilding her house by like painstaking methods to restore it to its once glorious state, while her husband, who is a poet, is trying to work on his next big project. Meanwhile, an uninvited guest shows up, and things kind of take some unexpected turns. That's really all I'm gonna say about the story of the movie, because really that's all you can say about it without going into unnecessary detail. This movie is absolutely crazy. It has some very obvious influences, as far as like taking cues from other surreal filmmakers from like the 50s and the 60s, as well as biblical, environmental, all kinds of sources come in on this, but it manages to take all that stuff and then still come through as like a very distinct, creative, unique vision. A lot of people say that this movie is heavy-handed. I would completely agree with that. I think that it is very blunt, it's very aggressive, but that's kind of the point here, is that the movie wants to be aggressive and in your face and obvious and like punch you in the face with it. Being this heavy-handed doesn't work very often in movies, but I think it works here just because it ties into what they're trying to do. This is a very aggressive experience, and so it makes sense that the messages that the filmmaker wants to portray are brought across in that aggressive manner. At the same time, the movie's very, very surreal. It has a lot of just craziness, graphic violence, just a lot of weird stuff happens in this movie. The tone is very tense. It's, again, a very aggressive is the main thing I think of when I think of this movie. It's very unrelenting. The pressure is, if you have any kind of feelings of like intense social anxiety, I would think this movie would really resonate. It's just such a claustrophobic, tight feeling watching this movie, and especially if you have a lot of empathy and you can connect with the Jennifer Lawrence character. This movie is an absolute nightmare to watch, and I mean, but it's also at the same time, it's a beautiful movie. To me, it reminds me of like a Renaissance painting. Like, I feel like this movie should be hanging in a museum somewhere. Like, I really think it's that important. It's definitely my favorite movie of 2017. I feel like movies like Wonder Woman and Get Out got a lot of really big benefits from social movements at the time, but despite the fact that this movie has some environmental messages, that didn't really get brought up because it was done in such a subversive way. But I feel like this movie is more important on a social level and on an artistic level than either of those movies. I think those two will be long forgotten, and people will be rediscovering and talking about Mother for a long time. Jennifer Lawrence is fantastic in it. She's in almost every scene. She has to go through a lot as a character, and I'm sure that entailed going through a lot as an actress. Some stories came out about her hyperventilating and having to have a safe space on the set to recuperate. I loved it. There's such a sense of disruption and chaos and just the complete breakdown of human behavior. It's just a beautiful, wonderful, fantastic, stressful movie. I think a lot of people will hate it, and that's kind of, if you look at the critic reviews, a lot of people don't seem to be in the middle about it. It either seems like people hate it and think it's awful and atrocious and too on the nose, and then you have other people who embrace it for being surreal and bold and brave. And I mean, for a major studio movie, this is insane that this made it out at all, but especially to get a wide theatrical release, unheard of. Maybe an indie movie would take some risks like this, but a big studio movie, that's almost unheard of in our era of super tame, safe filmmaking. So anyway, I got it on 4K Ultra HD. The movie looks fantastic. It's a really cool looking movie. It has some great visual designs, great production values, and it looks great. I didn't compare it directly with the Blu-ray, so the only thing I have to go by is I've seen it on DVD, and obviously the 4K looks a lot better than the DVD. It just has a couple featurettes as extras. Doesn't seem like it's a movie to where the director really wants to spend too much time delving back into it. So I don't know if we'll get like a super deluxe version down the road or not. I definitely recommend checking it out. There is some very brief nudity in it. There's a lot of graphic violence. Some of the blood is CGI, and it really stands out because the movie is so polished and refined otherwise. And then you have this like kind of low end blood, CGI blood. But then there's also some craziness that goes on. There's a lot of wild dialogue, a lot of wild character actions and mannerisms. So the craziness on this one is really high. I can't recommend it enough. Like I said, it's my favorite movie of 2017. The 4K, or I'm sure the Blu-ray looks, pretty good as well. So I would think if this is one you want in your collection, I would pick up the 4K because it's got the 4K and the Blu-ray and the digital. But if you want a DVD copy, you'll probably have to go with the Blu-ray DVD combo pack. That's it. That's Mother. Highest recommendation of the year. My favorite movie. I think the most important movie of 2017. If you want to read my full write-up of Mother, you can go to markfusion.com and check that out. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, Letterboxd, and Patreon at markfusion. If you want to go to the Patreon, you get some exclusive stuff. If there's something that you're interested in that I don't have up there, like if there's something that I could add as a perk or whatever, just let me know, and I'll definitely consider it. That's a way you can directly support me, help me out through YouTube's nonsense with monetization lately. But the best way you can help me out, as always, is just the sub, even with all the changes. Raising my sub count is a way that I can definitely continue to keep making content and hopefully work toward whatever the next goal YouTube is going to make us go through. But anyway, I really appreciate you watching this video. I really hope you'll check out Mother. And if you saw it and you didn't like it, maybe just give it a second look and just kind of lose yourself in the chaos of the movie, because I really like it. I think it's a really important movie. Thanks again for watching this. Hopefully I'll see you guys soon.